to the talk tonight with fans getting a first look at the SU football team. Will the new coach be able to re-energize the fan base? The Dome used to draw some huge crowds, but hasn't been anywhere close to being full in recent years. Our Nika Chamurian joins us now to talk about fan expectations. You know, I went to SU at sort of like the height of it, you know, when some really great players were there, and people were excited about going to SU football games. It just seems as if that excitement has sort of diminished. So now we're starting in the ACC. We have a new head coach. Is that enough to re-energize these fans?
No question. Obviously, the biggest thing to bring that all back is results on the field, wins, right? And you mentioned that it isn't the way it was in the late 90s, early 2000s when we had Donovan McNabb, Dwight Freeney, those names. Well, that's because there was the Greg Robinson era, and there was 10 wins and 37 losses over a 4-year period. Naturally, the fan base, the attendance is going to take a hit when you have a stretch like that. However, this turnaround kind of started under Doug Marrone with 2 bowl trips in 4 years, and now it's Scott Schaefer's turn, of course, to continue and build on and take that success even further. So I would expect that the crowds will go up, and not just because of that, but because you have more marquee names coming to the Carrier Dome. You know, it's no longer Rutgers, Cincinnati, and Connecticut, which football-wise, you know, you suddenly have Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, Wake Forest, Boston College, et cetera, et cetera.
Those teams now that we're going to be playing, how do they travel? I mean, do they follow
travel
their teams?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just look on YouTube if you'd like, or Google image search Clemson's Death Valley, they call their stadium. I mean, these stadiums hold, you know, way above 50,000 fans, maybe 60, 70, 80,000 fans. And they do travel well, and that's the other beauty of the Atlantic Coast Conference is that it is just that, an Atlantic Coast Conference. So even the places that you would have to fly to, like a Georgia Tech in Atlanta, these aren't crazy cross-country flights, or even to the Midwest. That thing. A lot of these games are drivable if you're that diehard of a fan.
How much pressure is on Scott Schaefer right now?
Well, year one, you know, there's always pressure to win. Let's put it that way. If you asked him, he said he's going to tell you there's a lot of pressure because he wants to win every game. It's just the kind of guy he is. But if you're talking from an administrative standpoint, I mean, it is year one. You are replacing quite a bit that they lost from last year's team, like the quarterback Ryan Nassib and, you know, first-round draft pick in Justin Pugh. So from that standpoint, you know, there's not an enormous amount of pressure, but don't let that fool you. Everybody that you see in that practice field right now is feeling pressure. They want to get to a bowl game and beyond. They want to make their mark in the ACC. All
right, let's go to our Facebook page tonight because we posted this a little bit earlier asking folks, you know, do you feel re-energized by this new conference and a new coach? What would inspire you to attend more SU football games this year? DJ Ferguson saying SU football will always be second to SU basketball. We haven't been relevant since we had McNabb, so he goes on with that. But then Alonzo Coleman saying football fans love competing. The new conference enables us to probably see #1 draft picks playing in our house. Go Orange. So there's a big support.
Well, and I'd like to go back to DJ's comment for a minute there. I mean, that was part of the problem with the attendance is that, you know, obviously Jim Boeheim gives us a great basketball program year in and year out, and obviously SU fans are thankful for that. But that outlook, that kind of like, oh, it's like always second rate, that's part of the reason. And I think the resurgence under Marrone that we'll see continue under Schaefer is part of the reason why you have such a great turnout right here at FanFest right now. There's Athletic Communications Director Sue Edson right there in the white shirt pointing around fans, showing them what's going on. You know, I think you're really going to see that whole mindset of SU football being second rate. I think that's a thing of the past. I think you're certainly going to see that fade more and more away in the years to come.
And how much do those players sort of draw off the crowd? You know, when you have a packed stadium with fans cheering for you, how much do they take off that energy?
Absolutely. And anybody you talk to that's played in that field, the one thing they mention is that, the Carrier Dome only holds about 50,000, but it sounds like it holds 100,000. In fact, Scott Schaefer himself, remember, he coached at Michigan. He was the defensive coordinator. That stadium holds 108,000 fans. He said it was louder in the Carrier Dome with half that crowd. And that's a product of you have the dome, you have the bubble there, the echo, the noise stays in there. It's quite an atmosphere, and the fans really support the players because if you're on the field there, the other team has to call a timeout because they can't even hear what play they're trying to call. So that's a big impact on the game, no doubt.
All right, so maybe more wins could bring more fans, or maybe more fans could bring more wins. We'll see.
I think the fans need to show out and support them, absolutely.
All right, Nico, thanks. Still ahead tonight. How much cleanup is ahead for those affected by the flooding last night? Our Alex Dunbar will give us his thoughts on how much needs to be done after seeing the damage there today.